Thank you.
There's a microphone, if you could wait for that, and if you could identify yourself. Here, Marguerite, up front.
Hi, Penny Starr, CNS News. This is for the mayor. You were talking about the ages of the students. Can you be more specific? Are you able to determine the actual age of the students and say, are some as old as 18 or even older? It sounded like you were indicating that.
We have no ability to confront the student directly and demand an accurate age. Every once in a while, we'll be able to determine that somebody is well above the age at which they would be entitled to an education in the Lynn Public Schools. For example, if a student does not show up for a few days of classes, we will send our truant officers out to find out what's going on at that home. So when they knock on the door and they say, we're looking for so-and-so, and the responding person says, well, they're at work, and then every once in a while a person will burst out. For one example, the woman who answered the door said, he's 35 years old, he's not going to show up at school. So we know we have good authority, but we cannot, per DOJ guidelines, we cannot ask them for any more verification of their age. And most of them don't come with birth certificates anyway. All they come with is a form from the Jubilee Center that says their date of birth was 1/1/98, and we can't go beyond that. It does become very frustrating.
Any other questions? Marguerite, if you could identify yourself too, please.
Thank you. I'm Dino Drudy. I'm a member of the Fair Board of Advisors, and I'm also a Massachusetts by birth. Mayor Kennedy, why haven't towns and cities like yours stood up to the federal government and the Justice Department and made them sue you for you're doing your due diligence to establish the facts regarding your students? And why haven't you asked the National Congress to cut the budgets of some of these agencies that aren't doing their jobs and redirect that money to cover the costs that the federal policies are imposing on your local government?
Well, actually, one of the reasons why I am down here in Washington is to meet with some of the staff members of Congress, to ask them to find solutions to help communities like mine. I can't speak for other communities. I don't know why they haven't stood up. I think the superintendent and I finally just reached our breaking point. I had gotten a very good hold of the city's finances when I became mayor 4.5 years ago. We went from a Baa1 bond rating to an A+ bond rating. At one point, I had about $16.5 million in free cash for my city. I had a really solid financial backing for the city, and then in the last couple of years, it has all fallen apart, and it has really frustrated me. So I am down here. This trip, I'm meeting with some staff members of Congress people because they're on break, but I am planning another trip in the next probably 5 or 6 weeks to come back down and meet directly with the congressional senators and representatives to find out what we can do to assist communities like Lynn in getting the money to pay for this increase in population.
Hi, my name's Mike Maxey. I'm from Fairfax County, basically a citizen, also a retired Foreign Service officer. I've spent 6 years in Central America and another 5 years in South America. So I'm aware of some of the issues there and what's causing some of the out-migration. One of the issues here, though, is the response by the federal government. And a specific issue that we're looking at in Fairfax County is Title I resources. And I'm wondering what's been your experience with Title I, which is basically based on a poverty index, a self-reported need for free and reduced lunches. Is that helping? Is it increasing? Is that going to be part of your discussion with Congress?
Well, Lynn has always been historically a lower income community, a real blue collar community, and we have about 81% free or reduced lunches as far as our student population goes. So the Title I impact really hasn't been significant simply because we were at such a level even before this influx. One issue that I failed to bring up in my initial presentation regarding the schools, and I know this is more at the state level, but I wonder if Virginia has something similar. We have a Massachusetts comprehensive test for students in the 4th, 7th, and 10th grades that students are required to pass. And they are expected to take and become advanced or proficient on their MCAS, as it's called, by their second year in the school system. And our funding, our state funding, can get jeopardized if our students don't score advanced or proficient. Now, when I tell you that these people are being placed in the 9th grade and they're illiterate in both English and Spanish, the odds of us getting them to pass a 10th grade math examination are negligible. So I'm expecting that this is going to hurt the City of Lynn's standing with the Massachusetts Department of Education. The other issue concerning the schools that I did want to bring up is our dropout rate. Now, the way Massachusetts calculates this is if Joe Smith is a student in our system and he drops out in April, takes a landscaping job, comes back in October, drops out the following April, that counts for us as 2 dropouts, even though it's one person. And we've actually had one of these students drop out 4 times already. And when our dropout rates go up, that also affects the city's standing with the Massachusetts State Department of Education. So we see a lot of problems coming down the road, as well as the ones that we're dealing with, which are primarily financial right now. And I'm glad all of you have taken an interest in this. But I'm acting, I guess, in a way as a beacon or a warning to let people know that these are the consequences of the policy that the federal government has pursued.
2 questions. Neil Monroe at Daily Caller. Does this impact prospects of economic development in Lynn? And what do the government officials tell you? What words do they use when you come up and say, I can't check their age, what are you doing to us?
Well, like I said, the ICE officials that I've met with have told me that they're doing a really good job resettling these people, but I don't think that they're really keeping track of where they're resettling them. We're not getting any firm answers. We're getting reassurances that feel more like pats on the head, like just go about your business. And in fact, I've talked about the number of unaccompanied minors that have been resettled here in the city of Lynn. Once they get resettled and they're claimed by a sponsor, those sponsors can be illegal themselves, but those sponsors then become conferred with a type of protected status because they are obligated to have control over that unaccompanied minor until their status hearing date. Those status hearing dates are being pushed back through 2017 right now because of the backlog. So we haven't really gotten any answers from any federal officials as to what their long-term plan is for helping out the communities where the resettlement is occurring.
Also economic development. He'd asked
And
about.
the economic development. I really haven't seen any kind of impact on our economic development. Lynn is, as I said, a poor community. It's an old factory community. We have had actually a positive impact on the prices of our rental units and the availability of our rental units, especially the ones in the desirable section of town. The prices have gone to the point where there are bidding wars when they come on the market. The stock in apartments is really scarce right now. So I guess in that way, there's this kind of perverse positive effect on the economic development. As far as business development, we've added a couple of businesses that have one that's going to generate 500 full and part-time jobs in the community, and another one that has generated 200 jobs for the community. So we haven't really seen any direct effect on the economic development prospects in the city of Lynn.
You mentioned apartment prices going up.
Yes.
So are people in the town glad to see the prices go up?
No. No, the landlords are happy that the prices are going up. But we have, I guess, as a consequence of that as well, the scarcity, we have started to see, although we can't directly confirm this, that apartments are being subdivided, which does create a public safety hazard for the community. One reason that we know this is happening is recently, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a 3-alarm fire in 2 multifamily homes. It started in one and spread to the second. And when the firefighters got to the 3rd floor of the second building, they were finding it difficult to get into the bedrooms and find out whether there were people trapped in there because there were locks placed on those bedroom doors. They, in effect, became subdivided apartments, and that apartment effectively was used as a rooming house. So we don't know how many more of those apartments are out there. I would love to be able to just knock on doors and take a look around, but I'm prohibited from just bursting into people's apartments and checking that out. And unfortunately, we found out about it when the fire occurred. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but it could have posed a real danger for either people trapped inside those illegally locked rooms or the firefighters that were wasting valuable time trying to look and check to make sure everybody had gotten out safely.
Yes, sir.
Dana Milbank with the Post. You mentioned alleged teenagers with gray hair and wrinkles. Can you say how many there are? Have you seen them yourself? Are there photographs? Are there names?
I have seen their applications, their processing forms that have come from the Jubilee Center. And I would say of the 30 or 40 forms that I have seen, maybe 7 or 8 of them clearly, to me, looked older than the 17 or 18 years old that they were claiming to be.
So these are from photographs on
Photographs. I have not personally seen these people because by the time I've become aware of them, they've been placed into the schools, and I suppose I could ask the superintendent if I could take a walk over to the school system once school starts. For us, it starts Wednesday after Labor Day, and maybe I'll be able to get some firsthand up-close looks at these students, but clearly from some of the photographs, these people are adults.
Can you give the legal, illegal breakdown of the new students enrolling over the last
No,
years?
that, as I said, that's one of the problems with these figures that I've been given, is that when I do get this out-of-country admissions sheet, it doesn't tell me how many are refugees, how many are illegal immigrants, including unaccompanied minors, and how many have arrived in the community legally. But I can tell you, just based on my conversation with the superintendent, that virtually all of those 9th grade Guatemalan admissions are the unaccompanied minors. Another thing about Lynn, we are projected to be the #1 resettlement community for refugees coming into the state of Massachusetts. Lynn is projected to get 202 new refugees this summer, and that opposed to the 2nd largest city in Massachusetts, Springfield, is getting 58, and Boston's getting only 19. So we have
And these are not Central Americans. This is through the regular refugee
right,
program.
right. So we have a multitude of problems,
Right.
but
So
one,
those are by definition legal
yes.
immigrants, and you don't know how many of these others are illegal immigrants. Now, given that and the fact that the surge that you had actually predates the real surge that we've had in unaccompanied minors at the border, why are you so sure it's related to that as opposed to these other problems?
Because the start of our surge predated the national so-called, when the national stage first became aware of this. As I said, in through 2012, we had only three 9th graders from Guatemala in 2011 to 2012. By 2013, it was 56, I believe, and then in 2014, it was 126. So that was clearly the start of a trend. It was not any new factor that was introduced that was that was complicating those figures. And again, we know that a lot of these unaccompanied children are coming through the Jubilee Center, and the paperwork that they're coming up with is from the Jubilee Center.
Do you know how many you've gotten through the Jubilee Center?
I don't have the exact figure right now. I could get that. And by the way, if any of you have additional questions that you'd like me to answer that I don't have the answers for right now, you can send me an email. The email address to use is jcerulli@lynnma.gov. I'll be back at work tomorrow, and I'll be able to start answering any other questions you might have. I'll have more access to research and be able to contact the school department to get any other information you might want.
Let's take a couple more questions so that you don't get emails. Did you have something, Jessica, before
I was
the
just
next
going to
question?
add that
Quickly.
there were some photographs of some of the individuals claiming to be juveniles who arrived in Lynn that were published. So the a couple months
July,
ago.
I think.
I can tell you where to get those.
Okay. Yeah, Matt?
Matt Boyle from Breitbart. I wanted to ask you, what is the effect of this on Lynn's citizens and legal immigrants that are there? And are they aware of this? And what is the community's thoughts of this, the surge that's happening?
Most of them are very afraid to speak publicly about it because they don't want to be branded as a racist. However, I can tell you that through the emails I have received and through the personal conversations I have had with the individuals in Lynn, they are very concerned about the number of people who are coming in. They want to see it stopped. They're glad that I'm speaking up about it. And even the legal immigrants are very frustrated that they had to wait 8-10 years and spend, in some cases, thousands of dollars to come to the country legally. They don't feel that it's fair that people who are coming across and throwing themselves at the mercy of ICE are being able to get resettled more quickly and more cheaply than they were able to do.
Yes, sir. Here. Just wait for the microphone. And then we'll take one more question after that.
Yes, I'm Jose Diaz with Mundo Fox. Other than economic compensation for, your budget, what specific changes in immigration policy are you advocating before congressional staff?
Well, as I said, there's nothing specific. I will leave that to the policymakers at the federal level. But it simply allowing all of well, not all of, but to have a direct line from the resettlement centers, such as the Jubilee Center, to the city of Lynn, without compensating the city of Lynn for that direct line, I think is unfair. I think, for example, if Lynn has experienced an 8% increase in its school population, maybe there has to be a way to redirect students so that until every surrounding community has an 8% increase in their student population, then there's a moratorium placed on having the students enter the Lynn school system, just to balance it out. That might be the fair way to do it. Having immigration law changes might be the way to do it. Having a tougher border security might be the way to do it. And I'm not here to advocate for the value of one approach over the other. I'm simply making people aware that there are communities far away from the border that are feeling the economic impact of the policies that the federal officials have in place currently, and I'm asking them to look at them to acknowledge the impact that they're having on communities far, far away from the border and do something to change it. But as far as specifics, I leave that to the experts.
One last, okay, go ahead, Tim.
Some experts in the form of Department of Homeland Security officials, the Border Patrol, and others of us who have studied this program over the years think that the appropriate response is to address the surge by deterring the continued entry and resettlement of people who are coming. That, we know that certainly the Border Patrol believes and has said and has written that when there are no consequences for illegal entry and when people are allowed to rejoin family members who are already living here illegally, and when people who are here illegally are not subject to immigration enforcement unless they're convicted of a very serious crime. And when our local governments create sanctuary policies, for example, to prevent local law enforcement agencies from cooperating with ICE, those are all the conditions that lead people to believe that they will be able to successfully resettle here, and often with our government's help. And so that the answer is to enforce the laws we have, use the tools we have, to turn off the faucet of illegal entry rather than trying to redistribute funding to help out all the communities that are forced to absorb it.
We're going to have to, I want to respect people's time. We're going to have to, do we have one more question? Very quickly, and
Okay.
we'll have quick answers, and then we want to wrap it up. Go ahead.
My name is Melanie Oob from Numbers USA, and during my research on places like the Jubilee Center, I found that they describe their UAC programs as placing children in foster care as one of the main priorities. Do either of you have any insight to the foster care program? Have you talked to anyone who's been a foster parent? Are they Americans? The figures, the process, anything?
I have not. That's a quick
Okay,
answer.
we're good. Okay, thank you, folks. I'm not sure whether the mayor or Jessica will be around to be accosted afterwards, but you can always try, and I appreciate everybody coming. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you.